Joining us now to discuss this is pollster Frank Luntz. Hi, Frank.
You know, it's interesting. It's good to be here this morning. What's interesting is you showed that ad of Ryan pushing Granny off the cliff, and we tested it all across the country. It was probably the most dramatic ad that I personally have seen in all my years of studying politics. And what surprised me is that seniors looked at this and said, not only is it ridiculous, they were offended. About a third of the group laughed because it was so ridiculous, and a third of the group was so angry that someone would try to scare people that way. It is one of the most controversial ads, but Allison, it is one of the least effective because everyone knows that that trying to play on someone's emotions that way just doesn't work in politics in 2012.
Yet, Frank, I mean, as we were just talking about on the sofa, polls from a year ago when Paul Ryan's plan first came out showed that a majority of Americans were wary of his plan for Medicare. It did make them a little nervous. So what does his message now need to be?
Well, it's over the last, and I'm going to show you an ad in 1 second, but I want to give you 3 points. Number one is that the public did not know the details. And as they started to learn more about it, they believed him and his approach. Number two, that as Americans realize, so many are turning age 65 every single day. Thanks to our health care system, we're living longer than we've ever have before, but health care prices are going up. And all three of those, we know that Medicare will go bankrupt if we don't make a change. And number three, as Paul Ryan said yesterday, we want the facts and we want the truth. So here's an ad from the Ryan campaign of 2010. You've already seen, viewers have already seen as bad as it gets. This is as good as it gets. A Paul Ryan ad about health care that absolutely dialed through the roof because it talks straight about an issue we care about. Let's take a look.
Suppose you buy this lawnmower, but there's no price tag. You pay $400, but the guy behind you pays $200. You'd be furious. But that's how it works in healthcare. You don't know the price of anything. Colonoscopy, $2,000. At another hospital, $5,000. Or MRI, $600 or $3,500. I have a plan that will disclose all prices. Because without price competition, costs soar. I'm Paul Ryan, and I approve this message because I want affordable healthcare for everyone.
Interesting, Frank, because you do see the dials there going through the roof, and that's because why? People like the straight talking, explaining what's going on to them?
And they're talking about health care, and they want to know what it costs. They want to know honesty. They want to know the truth about the numbers behind the legislation and about how it's going to impact them personally. Now, those were swing voters, weak Republicans and weak Democrats. And what you noticed, Allison, was that both of them responded favorably to that. It's that kind of straight talk, looking into the camera and telling it the way it is, that I think makes Paul Ryan such an amazing choice for 2012, not just for the politics of it, but also for the fact that we are so angry and so cynical about Washington. We desperately want someone who looks us straight in the eye and tells us the truth.
There was an interesting Rasmussen poll that we've been talking about this morning that right now, how do voters see Paul Ryan? 39% favorable, 25% unfavorable. The rest didn't know how they felt about Paul Ryan, were completely undecided, didn't even know him. I mean, so if you were crafting a message for him or a catchphrase or some words, how should he introduce himself to those people who don't know him?
Well, he certainly doesn't need a catchphrase because he's one of the most substantive elected officials of our generation. And it's one of the reasons why he's so popular. I think he needs to do the speeches that he did in Virginia. He needs to do long form. Don't soundbite someone who really knows the details behind this legislation. And I'll tell you what, Allison, as great as these presidential are going to be, I can't wait to do the dials. And viewers, if you go to lunchglobal.com, you may get a chance to participate. The vice presidential debate between Paul Ryan and Joe Biden, it's going to be explosive.
October 11th. I'm already excited. I'm already popping the popcorn. Frank Luntz, thanks so much for coming in.
It's great to be here.
Okay, great to see you. Up next.